Hi everyone, welcome back to Stamp with Anna, and today I'm going to show you a basic accordion card, accordion fold card. And this was part of a recent card class that I had where we focused on accordion folds, and we made 3 different types of accordions, and this is one of the most basic ones. And this one was done using some retired birthday paper. I don't remember what it was called, and it came with a, it was part of a suite that had, was a birthday suite. And this punch here, the ice cream cone punch, is still in the catalog, but the papers weren't. So I had a lot of the paper left over because I love it, so we used that for class. I'm going to make this same card, but a different version of it today. I'm going to use different papers and a different stamp set. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to, there's a lot of moving parts to it, so I'm going to just tell you what they are as we go along, because I don't want to confuse anybody just rambling them all off. So our base is this Evening Evergreen. And this is cut at 5.5 by 11. And we're gonna score this to make our fold. I'm gonna bring in my trimmer because my trimmer has 2 blades. One is the cutting blade, and I'm gonna push that down the bottom so that I don't use it by mistake. And the other light colored one is my score blade. So, with the long part of the paper up along the top, I am going to score at 1 1/4, and don't worry about these measurements. There will be a link below to my blog where I'll have them all listed. 1 1/4, 4, and 6 3/4, and that is the base of our card. So what we're going to do, we have the largest section on our right here. We're going to bring this paper over to the right, then back to the left, and back to the right. And because it has a lot of folds, we are going to use our bone folder to just reinforce those folds so the card lays as flat as possible. And that is our basic accordion fold. Okay, so when you open it, it goes this way. Now we have to put some paper in this. So I am using the Plentiful Plants stamp set and the Perfect Plant dies for this one. So it's gonna have a much different feel. This is bright and cheery. This is also gonna be beautiful, but it's not going to be as bright. So these 2 papers have these 2 products have a coordinating paper stack that go with them, and it's called Bloom Where You're Planted, and that's where all of my papers have come from. And you see the beautiful 2-sided papers. I don't have much left because I've used so much of it. I love that brick. So we're going to start to fill in all of these sides with paper. The first thing we're going to do is put a piece of Designer Series paper on this big block here. And this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. So we're going to attach this piece with some stamping seal. Okay, just want to center it in that panel. This piece here, we're just going to put a piece of basic white. That's where we're going to stamp our sentiment and write our greeting. And you know what? I think I'm going to stamp my sentiment first. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says a little note with the biggest thanks, and I'm going to use some Evening Evergreen to pick up on the color of the base of the card. So this is a photopolymer stamp, so I'm going to bring in my stamp pad. And I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to drop it right here in the center of my card. Straight down and straight up. Okay. And now this is going to go in that panel. So again, with my stamp and seal, I'm going to center that right in there. And when I do place this, I want the tops of the papers to be aligned and the bottoms as well. Now I have this one here, and this is a Designer Series paper. It's actually the reverse side of that. And this is cut the same size. It is 2.5 by 5 1/4. Let me just double check that. Yep, 2.5 by 5 1/4. Now for this one here, on my sample card, the birthday card, what I did was I just put a piece of white paper there and then a little strip of this polka dotted right in the middle of it. But the papers that came in this set, I thought were a little too busy to do that. So what I did was I cut another piece of this. This is 5 1/4 by 1. And that's what I'm going to put there. And again, I'm going to line this up so that it looks like just one straight piece of wood. Okay? And this folds up, and then I have this panel here. And for that panel, I have another piece of Designer Series paper, which is cut at the same as the inside, 1 by 5 1/4. And that is going to go right here. And we're almost done, believe it or not. Okay, now I need to make a belly band to keep this card together. And I have a piece of Evening Evergreen, and this is cut at 3/4 by 9 1/2. I'm going to slip that behind here, and I'm going to wrap it from either side. So I'm going to take this right one and bend it over, and then this one here. And I don't want to pull it real taut because I do want there to be enough room so that this belly band slides easily up and down. And because this is a moving card, an interactive card, you do want to use an adhesive that is good and strong. So my stamp and seal is nice and strong. You could use like tear tape if you had that. Okay, so I'm going to let's put that across there. All right, and I see that I have used just a tad bit too much. So I'm going to take my eraser and see now this slides nicely. So now I want to make, on this one here, the belly band just had the ice cream cone on it. Didn't have a sentiment at all. This one here, I'm going to put a sentiment on it. No? And I'm going to use the same stamp set, and I'm going to use the same ink. It is the Evening Evergreen, and I'm going to bring in my paper piercer. Stamp this up right here, and I'm going to die cut this out, so I'm just going to drop it right there. While I have my ink out, I think I'm going to do my other stamping as well. I have a piece of scrap basic white, and okay, a piece of scrap paper, and using Garden Green, I'm going to stamp the larger set of leaves that's in that stamp set. Now you can see this designer, I just re-inked my ink pad, so it's a little wet there, but I like that. You can see that this Designer Series paper has different shades of green. It has that Evening Evergreen and it has Garden Green. So I thought that if I stamped this in Evening Evergreen, it might be too dark. So that's why I went with the Garden Green, and it's a little brighter. Then with Cajun Craze, I'm going to stamp my terracotta pot. Okay, and I love the shading that's on that. I'm going to do my die cutting. I'm going to bring in my mini cut and emboss. Bring this up here. And I have my one plate, my acrylic plate, and I'm going to die cut my leaves first. This I have to hand cut out. And here is the leaf for that. Okay, and I put my plate over it. And I'm gonna run that through. And there is that. And I'm gonna bring in that stamped image I had of that said thank you, and I'm gonna die cut this out with the Stitched So Sweetly frames. And that I used the third smallest, I believe. Okay, and there's that. Now I'm going to bring in my paper snips, and I'm just going to fussy cut out my pot here. These are all straight lines, so it's not a problem to cut those out. I'm not a big fussy cutter. And I am leaving a little bit of a border just so that it looks the same as my leaves do. My pot. Now I'm going to put this onto my card. So before I attach anything, I'm going to just give it a dry fit. So I'm going to put that right there, and I think I'm going to like it like this. Okay, I like that. So I'm going to put some adhesive on my belly band. And I'm going to put my card down. Now because when I stamped and when I die cut this out, I brought my thank you down a little more to the bottom. My leaves can kind of flow over the thank you. Okay. That looks good. So I'm going to bring in some liquid glue, and I'm going to put some glue on that leaf and this leaf here. Make sure I only get glue on those. And I'm going to use some dimensionals for my pot because I do want that to be raised and look a little nice. But my pot's going over here, and so I can only put adhesive. Oh, I need to bring this over just a tiny bit. My pot is going over here, so I can only put adhesive on the top. I guess I'm not gonna, I don't know that a Stampin' Dimensional is gonna work. I'm trying this as I go along. All right. I think I might just lift this up a little bit. No. All right, there we go. The pop dot did work. Okay, great. See what happens when I decide to change it up at the last minute? So there we go, it did work. And I have my pot is a little raised. I have to be careful when I put this back on and off though, because that is not attached to anything. So my pot is raised, and this leaf is over on that one. So there we go. Changed my design on the spot and it still worked. So because I didn't score my belly band and I loosely ran it across, it slides nicely. And when you open it, there you go. A little note of thanks. A little note with the biggest thanks. And I really like how that came out. So there's one version and there's another version. If you have any questions about this project or any of the products I used, certainly contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you would give my video a thumbs up, and if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be notified of any projects as I post them. And if you do not have a demonstrator with whom you work, certainly contact me and I'll be glad to help you out. Thank you so much and have a great day.